everybody, welcome to Eden Fractal. We're here for our 108th meeting. Have the pleasure to be here with Tadas, Eric, Rosmari, and Fractal Pat Novabat. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Hope that you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back, Eric and Fractal Pat. I haven't seen you in a while. We have an exciting development from Tadas he's going to share today too. Always great to see Rosemary hanging out with the Fractals and the kittens. I suppose I'll get into a little presentation about Eden Fractal, and then we'll jump into the agenda for today. If anyone wants to say a quick hello or anything like that, then feel free as well.
Hello, nice to be here.
Nice to see you, Patrick. Thanks for joining the Optimism Fractal too. I have some exciting interviews coming up too, so excited to hear more about these. And speaking of interviews, we're going to have an interview today with Tadas. So welcome, everybody. If you're not familiar with Eden Fractal, it's a community that creates innovative game shows and tools, which is kind of an understatement, I think. You can learn more about Eden Fractal at edenfractal.com. We have a vision that all communities and organizations should have the tools and methods to make the best possible decision making, that all collective decisions should be fast, fair, and fun. And we're on a mission to do that by implementing fractal decision-making processes throughout society via collaborative research, development, education, gamification, and community engagement. Fractal decision-making processes like the respect game, like the OREC mechanism that we'll be talking about today. You can learn more about our mission and vision and much more on the website, and also join our they're not weekly events now. I have to update that actually. We used to do weekly events for the past 2 years, but then we changed to a bi-weekly schedule. Everybody's welcome to join at lou.optimistics and network with builders, learn ways to empower your community, and help create a better future for all. And you can watch all the videos too, all 107 past videos, and join in the videos too to share what you're doing and so forth. So very unique opportunity, and you can learn about the tools we're building on the website as well, all open source to help communities thrive and so forth. So we have a group chat and much more you can learn on the website, but that's kind of like the high level overview for people who aren't familiar. And Eden Creators are a media outlet that is supporting Eden Fractal quite a bit. And we put out a message saying that today we'll see a presentation from Tadas about OREC, the Optimistic Respect-Based Executive Contract. Participate in questions and discussions about it, and potentially play a respect game with a new ORDAO app, the Optimistic Respect based app that Tadas built that works with the OREC system. So you can learn more in this tweet. Also, Tadas did join the Optimism Fractal in the Optimism Town Hall last week too, where he provided a more detailed overview of the ORDAO app, really, and the OREC system. It can help communities make decisions easily and do on-chain actions with a high degree of decentralization. Really exciting for many benefits, for many reasons here with many benefits. So there's been our discussion from last week that you can watch for more details about that. And of course, you can register to join the next Eden Fractal event coming up and invite friends. We love to meet more people and spread all the cool things we're doing and collaborate. And like I said, edenfractal.com/videos is where you can watch all the latest videos. For example, in the most recent video, Vlad joined the respect game. Vlad showcased the respect game app that he's building too, which is really very exciting and has many synergies with what Tadas is building, as well as several other developers in the community. So encourage you to watch that episode as well as all the other episodes where we entered our second epoch of Eden Fractal, as well as all the episodes from the first epochs and back to our 2-year anniversary and so forth. You can see show notes and everything else in here, along with very beautiful artwork to show what we're doing. You can get a little preview of the app that Vlad is building there, for example. So really cool stuff that we're discussing here. But anyway, there's also some great videos that we've been releasing from Optimism Fractal too. Optimism Fractal, everybody's welcome to join on Thursdays at 17 UTC, and you can find all the videos from both Fractal communities and more on the Eden Creators YouTube channel as well. Some really exciting developments here. There's also breakout rooms too that are being posted too for Optimism Fractal if you go to the playlist. So encourage you to join and have some fun and so forth. And if you want to learn more about Optimism Fractal, that's optimismfractal.com, community dedicated to fostering collaboration, awarding public goods creators, and optimizing governance on the superchain. A quick bit of news. I'm excited to announce that Optimism Fractal was a co-winner of the Hats Protocol first inaugural Hatathon. You can check out the Hats tree here. We're actually having a scheduled conversation about this at the Optimism Town Hall next week. This enables people like Optimism Fractal and other Fractal communities to allocate roles and permissions dynamically based on respect and all sorts of other cool stuff too. So I want to give a quick shout out. Jake, who's joined Eden Fractal a few times, teamed up, we teamed up and he helped build it, which is really exciting. So wanted to share some progress, and Rosemary is also sharing all the progress about Optimism Fractal events in the gov.optimism.io as well, where you can learn updates going forward. For today's agenda, there's some links there if you want to learn more about Hats protocol and stuff like that. But for today's agenda, as I said, we'll be mostly focusing on OREC by Tadas. If people want to share like some pretty quick updates too, what we've been up to, it's been a while since we've seen each other, so we can also have some time just to have some open conversations and share what we've been up to. But we want to focus most of the time today also on OREC, which is once again optimistic respect-based executive contract that Tadas built. You can see a GitHub repository here that Tadas created. It's actually in the frapps GitHub. I don't know exactly what to call it. The frapps repository, I guess. And this is a specific page for the optimistic respect-based executive contract, where you can see the mechanism and how it's designed here. So we're going to be doing a deep dive of this today to explain how exactly it works and what are the benefits and so forth. And then also, I encourage people to learn more about the app which enables OREC called ORDAO. In the most recent episode of Town Hall 2, we had the discussion about it for about an hour, as I said before. So you can see like the design of it and how it works and so forth. It's currently still in progress, but there's an Org console app which allows people to do many of the functionalities right now, and much of it is deployed on mainnet. So congratulations to DOS on this. I encourage people to watch and learn more. And thanks all for the great discussions at the event too. Yeah, thanks Patrick for asking some great questions there. And we also talked about this in some previous videos too, from the 28th event and so forth. But and there's kind of more general overview of the Optimism Fractal 2 candidate that the DOS is proposing, of which OREC is a central part. But that's kind of like a high-level overview that we'll get more into detail. He also shared more in the Optimism Fractal Discord. And then I suppose optimistic.io/tools is a place where you can learn about some of these tools that are in development, although it's not fully updated for some of them, but you can see some of the Fractal app in development and so forth. We might use OREC for the Epoch 2. And then one last thing I wanted to mention too, I messaged with Tadas, and Tadas had said to share something interesting with me that I kind of forgot about. But related to the OREC design that he's building, there's a concept called like consent-based decision making that we discussed in our 31st meeting at Eden Fractal. There was a proposal from a community member named Gabriel who suggested that we host discussions with this kind of consent-based decision-making process that kind of allows people to make decisions easily if they'd like to, without having to get like a huge amount of consensus. And on edenfractal.com/31, you can see more details about this. You can see the proposal that we had approved back then to organize discussions about that. And yeah, the system that for OREC that Tadas has designed is sort of similar to this. It wasn't really thought about until after he developed, I think. But basically, there's a lot of great resources on holacracy and sociocracy that talk about how you can make good decisions faster by moving from consensus to consent. And that's one of the things that the OREC does. So I only provide a little bit of overview there, but we'll get into more details about it too. And I suppose that's a good introduction there. So with that, I'll stop sharing the screen and the floor is open. So thanks all for listening to the presentation. And yeah, I don't know if Tadas, you want to go ahead and jump into the OREC, or if anybody else would like to say hello and just share any quick thoughts or anything like that, then feel free as well.
Then could you enable screen sharing first?
Yes. Yeah. Maybe it would also be good to just provide a bit of space too. Before I see that Eric's unmuted, and we haven't seen Eric in a while. I haven't seen Patrick in a while. I see Patrick shared that he is producing a video with Tadas, an interview about OREC and ORDAO that's going to be released on September 14th. So thank you for that, Pat Noverbat, Fractal Pat Noverbat. And there's also an interview with Jacob Hominex, who I teamed up with to build the Hats protocol. He's an awesome developer, building roles and reputations and more too that he's coming out with too. So thank you for that. And yeah, I suppose maybe we'll start off with just a little bit of open discussion, and then we'll jump into the OREC afterwards, Stas, if that's good.
Yeah, I joined today after past 1 year of Eden Fractal that I was not joining anymore, and very happy to be here again. Nice momentum with what is happening with OREC and ORDAO. That's why I'm very pleased to announce that I will interview Tadas tomorrow, and I will release over the weekend our video. And for Jacob Omanix with the Optimism Fractal and the Graph protocol and Hats protocol, we were the video is in the box. That was a very nice moment with Jacob, heart, soul, and mind moment, and diving into the protocol, and enjoy also to publish that over the weekend. So there is a lot of relationship between the things and mind mapping, or what I was doing in the past, and I can reuse and leverage what I produced now with good protocols. That's why I'm very happy to be here, and also because I love Tadas and yeah, Rosmari and Dan Sinjoy for sure, and Eric. That's why I am here again. Good people. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I'm pleased to be here with you too, and appreciate you joining and all the great work you're doing. I see Rosemarie putting up several hearts, Tadas putting up a heart too. So very nice to hear from you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I see you're unmuted as well, Eric. Would you like to? We haven't seen you since back in Epoch 1, the old days, maybe like a couple months ago. Curious to hear what you've been up to. If you want to share any thoughts, then feel free.
Well, I've actually been working on a couple communities, ecosystems. One is tied much more with the nonprofits and the role of strategy in digital transformation. So I'm kind of setting this up as being a key element for strategy and digital transformation for nonprofit organizations. So it's got a much more firmer purpose in place, well-defined and connected with a lot more infrastructure and support. So while it can work by itself, it can even get more powerful if you line this up. We released a book in January called Nonprofit Digital Transformation Demystified. And from there, we've worked several levels on not only helping them define a digital strategy, but actually using some new tools to have an organization tell you who they are, how they work, what they want. In other words, help them actually plan the implementation of these decision-making activities, and changing the culture and building the team is a critical part of that. So I've kind of gone 3 layers since where we were talking before. The other thing that maybe some people don't know is I'm now working at a startup accelerator for early stage life science companies. And so we're building a whole ecosystem out with a 2 to 3 year time frame, really, that helps startup companies get fully defined, fully resourced, fully funded, fully protected, fully navigated, fully magnetic to attract customers, fully engaged, fully scaled. So I'm interested in how what we're doing here can be a critical part of that infrastructure. And the place is pretty cool where I work. I mean, we have presentation space, event space, webinar space, workspace, office space, and all kinds of labs and equipment. Everything from bioreactors and genome sequencers. And we're doing symposiums that everybody's welcome to. They're free remotely once a month. We're doing investing in consumer goods tomorrow. In a couple of weeks, we're doing clean tech. We also have one we do every year on psychedelics, which seems to be pretty popularly attended.
Are you aware of the work that Abraham is doing on his app, Eric?
No.
I think you might be interested in that, because I remember you were looking for a respect game app that...
Well, I need to, because I actually need to do this. What's changed is I need to do my test with 100 volunteers. 100 volunteers. So with 100 volunteers, you can't go. It's got to be really simple. Otherwise, the training is a huge burden. And it's going to be an 8-week test. An 8-week test with 100 volunteers. So I need to train them and then actually collect data for 8 weeks.
Yeah, so I think Abraham is working on something that I think what he's working on is closest to what you need. So he's working on a respect key map that would hide all the blockchain details, and so that you could register with an email, for example, and so on. And
yeah, I need
yes,
to do that. I'm at getting near more the end of getting my methodology approved by the university. And the next step then is to recruit 100 volunteers. But then we should have something we can write up and say whether this now it's going to be related to whether this makes volunteers more motivated. Because where this started is I asked nonprofits if I could wave a magic wand and you could give you the 3 things you wanted most magically, what would they be? And the consensus pretty much quickly came to funding, quality and quantity of services, and lower operating costs. So I went and looked for any strong connection that did all 3. And it turned out to be volunteer motivation is strongly, without a doubt, connected to more funding, more quality and quantity of services, and lower operating costs. So then it became, how do you motivate those volunteers? And there's intrinsic, very powerful, extrinsic. And I wanted to find the easy button, kind of like you use Facebook and it does stuff and you don't know why it works. You just keep doing it or things like that. So I wanted something I could give them to do with a very low training that was duplicatable, repeatable. Now, if you want to get to the higher levels of motivation, then yeah, you need to go in and really understand and train people. But I've been in so many, I've worked with government, industry, and academia, small, huge, and I've had so much great training. But what I learn is they come in, they give great information, you take notes like crazy, then Monday after the next week, nothing happens because they're just too hard to implement and get everybody on the same page. So one, the stuff we're doing here could make it easy for people to get everybody on the same page, I think, for anything. But I think this could have a huge impact on making a real difference for nonprofits. And could it work with anything else? Yeah, it could. But I'm just starting with nonprofits because it fits in with the other stuff we're doing. I'm interested in positively impacting mission, and mission is strongest in nonprofits.
All right. Well, excellent. Thanks so much, Eric. It's great to see all the progress, all the great progress you've been making, and your enthusiasm for it too. That is super exciting, and very excited about how the tools that Tadas is building, that Abraham is building, along with Howard now, and other developers like Vlad in the community are building, can help you accomplish that goal. And I'm quite confident that you'll get very good results with the respect game or variations of the respect game as we're building, as I think you probably are too. We should pass it over to Tadas pretty soon because we're almost halfway through the scheduled hour, and we haven't yet started really getting OREC. But I want to briefly respond to some stuff that you said, Eric, real quick. One, I did connect you with Abraham. We've talked about Abraham's work a little bit. And I realized I should have mentioned in the beginning, but yet Abraham is building a front end that can work with Tadas's application or Tadas's backend with the OREC, and different fractal apps could even actually work with Vlad's backend that he's building as well. And I think that would be very well suited for your purpose because it is a way that you can maintain privacy and have a lot of beneficial features and make it really easy for people to play. So I sent you a message about that like a week ago actually, and he's up to talk with you, so we can set up a meeting to talk about it more in the future. And then we can also, there's a lot here that you shared, so we can schedule another Eden Fractal event to get more into details about this too.
As soon as possible, let's go. I need to do it. I need to get a test group to test out, to train them and do it just to make sure it works. And then let's go for the gold.
All right. Well, sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. Great to hear what your book too and your startup accelerator. Would be happy to see any links if you want to share in the chat or anything like that. Also, one thing I want to mention is that Tadas did ask, I forgot to mention before, but Tadas put out a poll. He's looking for help with the user interface for the ORDAO, and had some other questions too. So there is, I forgot why I mentioned that, but there is some good reason to mention that as well. And then I also want to welcome Zal too. Thanks so much for joining. Zal has been hosting the Zao Fractal for like I think 15 weeks or so now, and I hear that there's quite a bit of musicians who are joining the Respect game. So thanks for joining, Zal. Hope you're doing well. If you want to say hello, then feel free. Also, Rosmari, I haven't heard from you on the recording much. If you want to say hello, then feel free. We do have the topic for OREC scheduled as well. I see Zal saying great deal of making, just listening it. Okay, well, yeah, feel free to unmute and ask some questions if you want, but I suppose now is a good time to go into the OREC. Feel free also, Rosmari, if you I see Rosmari's unmuted.
I wanted to just add that Will also said that he can help with the user interface to this.
Will? Who's Will?
Will, Kingfisher's Media. I can
Ah.
send you a Telegram.
Okay.
Will. Well,
Okay.
Will. Okay.
Thanks.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Rosmari, for letting us know. And thanks to Will. I see Eric shared Aquilus.com. I'm going to look forward to looking into that. And yeah, I suppose, and if nobody has anything else like burning that they really want to share right now, I see he's all saying he's planning to steal some of the hats ideas and build a hats tree with the Zao Fractal and Fractal Grant Certificate. Very cool. Then we can pass it over to Tadas. Tadas, are you ready to share about the OREC system?
Yep. I will share my screen. Yes, you should see my slides now.
Yep,
Yeah.
we see optimistic respect-based executive contract.
A second.
Motivation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so if you were participated in last Optimism Fractal meeting, I presented ORDAO, which could be the next version of Optimism Fractal software, and optimistic respect-based executive contract, or OREC for short, is its core component that I didn't really get into during Optimism Fractal meeting, but which is really the core, and the thing that makes this a good idea, or DAO tip, I would say. Yeah, so first of all, I want to start with what problem does it solve, or motivation for OREC. So first, DAOs typically need to send some on-chain messages or execute transactions on behalf of a DAO. So for example, fractals need to distribute respect to participants of breakout rooms. One primitive solution, the most primitive, is to simply have a poll asking, do you want to make this transaction or not? And then simply have a majority decide. But that's the most typical solution in DAO space, but there is a huge problem here. Voter apathy. Basically, there is not enough voter participation. If you look at statistics, it's like terrible, like less than 5% of tokens voting or something. And yeah, so typical bandaid is quite arbitrary quorum requirements that compromise on either security or liveness. So basically, you typically people reduce the required quorum, the amount of voters that have to, the amount of tokens that have to vote to pass a proposal. But this introduces security concerns because it makes it easier for a small amount of participants to determine the result. And yeah, so we already have some solutions to this problem in Fractal ecosystem. So first, the top contributor model that Vlad is implementing in these apps, that, for example, Alien Worlds use, or that Upscale is using, if I'm not mistaken. It's a valid solution, but for me, I see one weakness with it, in that being top contributor does not necessarily mean that you're suited that you are willing to execute transactions on behalf of a DAO, because there is few things that you need to do in order to execute transactions, in order to review transactions that need to be executed and executed. First of all, you need some technical knowledge. Usually need at least a little bit of technical knowledge to understand what the transaction being proposed does. And another thing is often, some contributors might be top contributors because they are doing a lot of work, but they might not be concerned at all with governance, or we don't want to get into it, or maybe transaction being proposed is not relevant to them, like they don't care about it to review it. Whereas, and I'm glad that Vlad joined, whereas in discussions, the second option that basically fixes top contributor model to some extent, and the solution that Vlad proposes is for top contributors to delegate to one so-called executive who would make the execution of transactions on behalf of them. And then they could change the executive if he does not perform well and so on. Again, a valid solution, but for me, what strikes me here is that there is a overhead associated with assignment of this role of executive. And this introduces typical politics into the system, like we need to vote on people who would be in the executives. We need to basically ask who's better suited, who do we trust, and so on. And then we need to have oversight over how he performs, and so on. And I would say this works in typical companies because there is skin in the game. So basically, shareholders are invested in companies, so we will lose money if executive does not perform. So we will keep track of what executive is doing. And in fractals, we don't have that. So I think this is one of the reasons why it's much less likely to work. So what does OREC propose? So the idea is to have, again, the problem is that voter apathy when it comes to voting on what transactions to execute. So OREC says, let's have very weak quorum requirements so that it's easy enough for small amount of voters to pass proposals, but then add a time delay, and this is a critical part, add a time delay between voting and execution, where only negative votes are accepted. And this is a key that makes the whole different. The end result is that it makes it easy to pass proposals under a normal operation, and it makes it easy to mobilize voters during attack scenarios. And so how does it do that? So imagine a scenario where you see some proposal coming to execute the transaction, and you see that it's a bad idea, bad transaction. It will do something bad, and you vote no on it. But you also see that during the voting period, it doesn't seem possible that this transaction will pass anyway. So you see that it doesn't have enough yes votes over no votes. So you just vote no and then forget about it because it's rejected. It will be rejected. But then imagine at the last minute, bunch of new yes votes come in, just enough so that proposal does get passed. And so you did not inform others about this proposal. You just voted no yourself, but did not make a fuss about this proposal because you thought it was going to be rejected anyway. But at the last minute, it got passed. And this is how it would work in a normal voting system. And what OREC does, it introduces this delay between voting and execution, during which negative votes are accepted. So in this scenario that I presented, you would be able to go to others in the community and say, look, if you don't vote no on this proposal, then this transaction will get executed and it will have these effects. And this is how it will affect you personally. Like, you could say you could do that in the initial scenario during voting period, but not really, because during voting period, you typically ask people to vote, and when you ask people to vote, you are asking people to do the work of reviewing a proposal. And here, during this, what I call veto period, when only no votes are accepted, during that period, you can be very concrete. You can say, if you don't vote no, these things will happen. And to add to context, to understand why this is so important, you have to understand the context in which I propose OREC. So I propose OREC as a execution part of decision making. So roughly the whole decision making process, typically I would say, would go like this. Idea is proposed, then community has a discussion, and community tries to reach consensus. And if community reaches consensus, then we go to OREC to execute a transaction. What this means is that the decision whether to vote no or yes on a proposal on OREC is decision about does execution of this transaction represent consensus of the community, or does it fall within the rules of the community? Which is much easier question to answer than, is this transaction good? Or do I like it? Or should it be executed? And so now to see the whole picture, I imagine this is how community using OREC would work. So community deliberates using flexibility and power offered by a variety of off-chain decision-making tools like note. Everything that is available currently in the internet does not have to use blockchain. So note-taking apps, chats, polls, etc. And decentralization is not that important of a tool here, of any specific tool here, because these tools do not have any power except to help us communicate. And then finally, when it comes to execution, it only takes a couple of members who take the initiative to operate OREC without the need for the process to elect them. And this is enabled by the low quorum requirements that OREC has. And and it's especially useful for situations, for example, where a new fractal is created and maybe new people there are not familiar with blockchain and they don't really care about how the process which is used to distribute respect. And in that case, one administrator which starts the community could fully operate OREC, and while also being able to claim that it is decentralized, because it is decentralized in the sense that if participants want it, they could take control from the administrator. Now back to full picture. If then we need a couple of members who track every valid proposal in OREC, and we check if actions performed by OREC fall within the rules of a group. I mean, for a healthy community, you would have at least a couple of members who keep track of what is being executed on behalf of community. And OREC does not have requirement for everyone to keep track of every OREC proposal at all times. So you imagine you only have a couple of people who keep track of what's happening, what's being executed by OREC, what's being proposed on OREC. And if we see any kind of controversy in proposal. Like if we have any doubt whether the transaction being proposed, whether it represents community's consensus, if we have any slightest doubt about it, we escalate to the community, and that simply means we talk about it in the community's channels or send DMs to members of a community. And then other community members apply the same basically perspective. We simply look if it's obvious that the executed transaction falls within the rules of a community. If it's not obvious that transaction falls within the rules of a community, we vote no. And so no here means voting no in OREC does not mean that you're against the idea. It simply means that you're against executing the idea right now. And then, yeah, that if the proposal gets rejected that way, then community simply discusses it further. And if we decide, after all, that transactions should still be executed, a new OREC proposal is created, and then people use OREC to execute it. Yeah, so, and that's the whole picture. And Dan already mentioned sociocracy. So one of the main principles of sociocracy is decisions by consent. So you could say that in OREC, when it comes to execution, OREC uses decisions by consent. Decision by consent differs from decisions by consensus in that when we look for consent, we are asking, instead of asking, does everybody agree, we are asking, are there any objections? And if there are no objections, we execute. And I think that approach is fitting for the execution layer of a community, because if community agrees to do something, then execution of it we don't need everyone to vote about how to execute it. We don't have people don't have that much time. But if there is at least one member who reviews the proposed execution and sees any issues with it, then that execution should get stopped. And we should discuss it and then go further. And in case it's really controversial, then OREC basically becomes a model where if everyone voted in OREC, then you simply have a majority vote, where if a super majority votes yes, then execution happens. Yeah, so that would be an overview. Does it make sense? Any questions?
Yes, I have questions. I took some notes during the presentation, so I can exactly tell you what I was thinking. Maybe on the full picture too, if you can go back on the full picture too. Yeah. Okay. It's written, okay, community deliberates further. If they decide to go with the execution after all, an OREC proposal is made again. And if you go in full picture 1, that was written, when it's come to execution, it only takes a couple of members who take the initiative to operate OREC, and you put in parentheses, without the need for the process to elect them. So if you want to operate OREC, just a couple of members could do this without that anyone elect them. So that could be, I don't know. I am thinking in my mind, maybe that could be an attack, possible attack vector if someone can operate OREC like that, just making a couple of members to do this without to elect them. And you say in full picture 2 later on, exactly or it is maybe not related. You say that if there is no OREC execution, there will be an OREC proposal is needed. So I don't get it.
Wait, I will come back maybe to the last part what you said, but coming back to the second point in this slide, yes, it's if no one uses OREC except a couple of respected members, then it's enough enough to operate OREC. But if say all the members chose, basically every respected member can add his vote to OREC. So if all members wanted to participate in OREC decision making, then all of their vote would be counted. And
Okay,
then it
so
becomes simply like supermajority decides what.
Okay, so here when it is written, it's only take a couple of members. We could add respected members. Those respected members will be them. That could be the set that could operate OREC, but they have to be respected.
Yes, yes. So basically, in case of low participation on OREC, only few members are enough.
Respected member.
Yes, yes. Only respected member vote count.
Yeah, that was logical for you, sure, when you wrote that. But when
I should have added that key point, right?
Okay, all clear on that. And on the full picture too, then the point about community deliberate further if they decide to go with the execution. But here execution is not about operate OREC, is a execution of a proposal or what here?
Well,
it's about proposal. Sorry, here it's about proposal. So that's not operate OREC. It's about to consider a proposal.
Yes, to consider what transactions to execute, proposal to execute transaction.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Patrick, for the great questions, and thanks so much to Tadas for the very thoughtful overview, as well as all of the work with OREC. This is very exciting. As I said on the town hall yesterday, I had the pleasure of going back and forth with you over the past months and like having the chance to internalize this. And I think it's like incredibly helpful for the reasons you mentioned, as well as many reasons why you didn't mention as well, which we can get into as well, some of the other benefits and other perspectives about why it's helpful. I wanted to do two things here. One, I want to just remind the audience, anybody who's here. So this is an overview of how OREC works on like a mechanical basis and why. Well, first off, it's not even like there is that GitHub document where it has simple rules laid out, and you could read the whole thing in like 2 minutes. So Tadas didn't share the screen here. I shared it briefly, but there's basically a 9-step mechanism that actually shows how this can be used. So Tadas provided an overview of the rationale and benefits and so forth. But that document called Optimistic Respect-Based Executive Contract in the frapps GitHub repository, which I can pull up later, and perhaps we can go through it later, or people can just read up on it. That provides the exact specifications, and it might be a lot of information right now, but I think it's really a very elegant system. This is all helpful to know to understand how the system works and understand why it's resilient and why it makes it easy to approve votes and so forth. But from the user perspective or from the community member perspective, it's also a lot simpler too. So not everybody needs to know all the details of how it works. People can learn the details as they go along. It's helpful too. But in the OREC console app that Tadas built, which is kind of like a web app that works with a command line interface, and then the app that Abraham is building or others may build as well, that puts us into a GUI and a user interface. This will make it so basically people who are in the community organization, they've earned respect by playing the respect game or some other non-transferable token by whatever other mechanism, and then they'll be able to basically vote on proposals, propose proposals, and then this system will work all on chain, and then the proposals will be approved on chain, and transactions will be executed if those variables are met. So I just want to provide that perspective from the user experience too, like a lot of these things work behind the scenes, and it'll be very easy for people to make proposals and approve proposals, especially once the user interface is pulled up. Secondly, I also wanted to provide a logistical update of the time too. We normally allocate 1 hour for Eden Fractal meetings, and we are 10 minutes from the past top of the hour. I had mentioned to Das beforehand that I will try to allocate at least 45 minutes for discussing the OREC, and there's a lot here. I'm sure I feel like Patrick has more questions that he'd love to ask, although he has an interview coming out. We haven't heard from Vlad or Eric or Rosmari about thoughts about OREC, and I also have some questions too. I could save for another time, but one suggestion is that we could extend the time. And that's something I'm curious to Tadas if you'd be interested in, to provide a more full and comprehensive overview of OREC here, or shall we aim to wrap it up in the next 10 minutes and get more in detail of it, or should we perhaps extend it for 15 minutes or a half hour or something like that, or just play it by ear? Do you have any thoughts on that, Tadas, about the best way to proceed regarding the timing?
I can stay for
Interview.
another at least 15 minutes or longer, so I'm open.
Okay, sounds good. Well, how about then, I feel like there's going to be a lot of helpful discussions that we can have. So how about we plan to extend it for 15 minutes, and we can play it by ear, depending on if we want to go a bit longer or short or whatever. If anybody does need to go to the top of the hour, then feel free. And if anybody wants to prioritize their questions, like before they have to go, if they have to go soon, then feel free. I have some questions I could ask too. Also, Zal put in a comment, said very cool concept. I'm definitely a big fan of the low quorum requirements, and this helps well to protect against potential attack. So I agree with that, and glad you like it, Saul. And then yeah, I could ask questions. Also, one other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to give a shout out to Howard too. Howard's working with Abraham on the app too. I forgot to mention that. But it's really cool to see all people building around Respect Game and Fractal apps. So this is like a really exciting time in addition to what you're presenting with OREC. But anyway, Tadas, if there's anything else you wanted to add there, then feel free, or otherwise the floor is open and I can save my questions for later, unless people yeah, floor is open basically. And I can save my question for after, because we can get maybe Vlad has some thoughts, or somebody else in the group wants to share any further questions or thoughts here. If not, I can also go ahead too, because I have one question in particular.
Go first.
Okay, my question isn't specifically related to OREC, but about how OREC is implemented into the ORDAO application. I'm wondering, what are the what are the roles of the Ornode and the Orclient? I understand the role of the Orconsole as the documentation and web app for the executing stuff, but I don't know exactly what the Ornode and Orclient are. Are those necessary components in order to operate the OREC system? And then, if so, how do they work? Does that like create a point of centralization or something like that? Is that like software that other people need to run, or is that just kind of like an internal component that runs on chain? Or you're muted right now.
Yeah, so both of them are off-chain components. Ornode is a server-side component. Our client is client-side. So our client runs in user's browser, typically. So
Yeah.
function of Ornode is, the main function is to store and index proposals. So when proposals are submitted on chain and voted on, only a hash of them is submitted. These proposals have a lot of metadata, like you could add description to them and so on, and I figured it was a bit too expensive to store everything on chain. Although now, to my surprise, gas costs on Optimism are lately even lower than I expected. Yeah, so, but yeah, that's the main reason for Ornode. And theoretically, it's like it introduces a server-side dependency on availability of proposal content. But if, for example, if Ornode went down, then you would be able to see that there is some proposal which you don't see, and then the right thing to do would simply be to vote no, to not execute what you don't know. And in case Ornode lied about proposals, our client would be able to see a mismatch between what is on-chain and what Ornode says. So basically everything that Ornode says is verifiable from on-chain events that happen on-chain.
Okay, great. Thank you for the explanation. That is very helpful to know. I suppose also maybe while I'm speaking, I could just share two things that I'm really inspired about OREC that I really love about it. One is that I think that it unlocks like a next level of decentralization. I really like, as you mentioned, Vlad is building the council version of decentralizing accounts and doing the execution of accounts, where you could have, say, 6 people in a council who have earned the most respect over the past few months. And I see many use cases for that in having like agile teams and so forth. And the OREC system, I could imagine it being very useful in the cases of both small organizations and like I'm very excited to test and experiment it with Optimism Fractal and Eden Fractal. I think there's a lot of opportunity there to experiment with and help it, but also particularly large organizations. Like for example, I'm working a lot with Optimism Collective. They have a very large system with hundreds of people who are badge holders and delegates and so forth. And I can imagine, like, if you can imagine a very large organization using OREC, it might be a lot more decentralized and be able to coordinate these kind of decisions more effectively using a system like OREC than having, like you said, having to having elect a smaller council. So that's one benefit I really like about it. And then the other benefit I really like about it too is we've talked a little bit about like deploying auxiliary respect tokens, which I think that something that OREC could do because you can make a proposal to say, let's deploy an auxiliary respect token for some other purpose other than just people who have earned respect at the Optimism Fractal events or the Fractal event. And the community could decide to deploy a new token, basically a new transferrable token for some other group, like for example, for the badge holders and the delegates and other stakeholders in the Optimism Collective. And then by creating that, you'd like you could have ways to use reputation systems in addition to respect to create like a really good distribution of voting power with OREC, and then like quickly enable like kind of almost new organizations to start in a way just by deploying these respect tokens, then enabling people to make decisions like that. So that's kind of it's just something I've been thinking about. I don't know if you thought about it in the same way, but I figure maybe just provide some additional inspiration and reasons why I think this could be very helpful, that ability to coordinate at very large scales and the ability to quickly start up new instantiations of communities or organizations using the OREC software based upon on-chain reputation data in different ways that could be decided by the OREC system. So those are just some thoughts I had. I'm curious, Tadas, if you want to share any thoughts about that, or the floor is still open, basically, if anybody wants to ask any questions or share any other feedback or reflections, and very curious to hear everybody's thoughts.
Yes, good ideas. And this week I thought about what if Token House in Optimism Collective would use OREC principles. I think we could have some advantages to that. But I don't know enough about all of their governance to put a concrete proposal yet, but it's something to think about.
Yep. I've been thinking about that a lot in communication with some of the leading stakeholders in Optimism Collective. I was also recently reached out to by somebody who's interested in alien worlds, and we had an experiment last year, 2 years ago, where the creator of Alien Worlds delegated some of his stake in the Alien Worlds game to the Eden Fractal's consensus process at the time, and I think that OREC could provide a similar kind of service in the Optimism Collective, as well as for many other communities too. We talked a little bit about Event Horizon, which might have some similarities there too. So lots of things that we can explore there.
Yeah, I just want to say, great talk, Dan, on OREC and ORDAO. And that's beautiful that we have this discussion today, because tomorrow I have the video with Tadas, and I will challenge Tadas during the video. We will break down into OREC and ORDAO very in the core. And that will be all time-stamped video that will be published on this Saturday coming. And we will understand at a high level, and also where we need to understand what is ORDEC, what is ORDAO, what is allows, what is enable, what is enabling. And then when we understand exactly the core of the things, how are the things, then we can build all the the things on top. The same for the fractal app with fractal text-based app with Tadas when I will interview him, and then we can, and also Omanix. Yeah, and also Jacob Omanix. The video is in the box since yesterday. We have dived into the ads protocol, the organizational graph, and then that gave me some ideas with fractal data collector. Fractal data collector, as the name implies, collect the data to make that very well connected into a mind map. And I have showcased the mind map during the code and all. So all is linked. And then we can, as suggested Eric, to press a button and then you have the data very well organized for any org entities and DAOs. We can address any Web 2 and any Web 3. So that's what we want. Just a remark, I see, for what I see now with the OREC and the ORDAO, that's very oriented brainstorming and sociocracy that we were doing in the past. And now we have executable mechanism to make the proposal pushed. And that is just a yeah baby thing that will let the possibility to move on and not to be stuck because sometimes we were. So now we have here a mechanism to be able to iterate and iterate fast. That is great. Shout out for that. I enjoy. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you so much. I see, I could respond there, but I see Vlad and Rosmari are both unmuted. Would you like to share some thoughts?
Yeah, I can share a bit. First, I would say that the idea of OREC is interesting. It is definitely something to experiment with. Some things that I would pay attention to is first, whether it becomes too easy to pass proposals. That's one thing. Second thing is whether it becomes too difficult to pass proposals. And in general, just my concern is when community, when you rely on community to take decisions, this is not the approach that I'm a fan of, because of just voter apathy, because of governance is just not the thing that is of interest to many. So yeah, those two things, look whether it's too easy to pass or it's too difficult.
Two things.
Yeah, then also I remember you yourself were thinking about this as well, and whether have you solved it, the spam problem, that if somebody starts spamming the proposals?
Yeah, currently it's solved by limiting each respect holder to certain number of live yes votes. So basically, right now in Optimism mainnet, what I deployed, you can vote yes on up to 4 proposals at a time. Once those proposals get rejected or executed, the count decreases. So you can vote on new proposals again, but yeah, that severely limits the ability to spam.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
So that's prevent the too easy to pass proposal and the too difficult. No,
it prevents just submitting too many proposals. So somebody could just each day pam. But if there is this
spamming in a way. Yeah, okay. But I noted for the interview of tomorrow. Great.
Yeah. Although spamming would only be possibly done by respect holder, so I think that makes it way less likely. So enough. So, but yeah, I still think that
If you
That
add a
defense mechanism is needed.
You should add a component Pat Novabat firewall that's called maybe. No, we will see that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the hidden solution.
Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Vlad.
Yeah, that's called max live votes, that parameter in OREC, and that could be adjusted to set different thresholds for how many times people can vote there. Thanks, Vlad, for the questions and thoughts. Also wanted to mention too, I think that a lot of the benefits that I mentioned about what I see in OREC, I can also see in the council-based version that or implementation that Vlad is building, and in some ways they're like a competing way to decentralize accounts in this way, but they're also collaborating and helping these Fractal communities too. And it was really nice hearing both you guys speak at the Optimism Town Hall event last week, talk about how this kind of experimentation with these different methods, that's kind of like a healthy competition and collaboration, co-opetition. That's really nice. So appreciate the feedback there, Vlad.
Yeah, it's I believe there are communities who would prefer councils and there are communities who would prefer OREC. So there's the market is huge.
It's depend.
Yeah.
It's relative to the customer that you find.
Yeah.
The structure of the customer that you find, how they are organized, and then you suggest the best tool. So I see no competition between OREC, ORDAO, and the Fractal text-based app. I see just value-added softwares and maybe some combination at a point. But let's be separate at the beginning, then we will be able to see the connections as always. But when Tadas and Vlad are in the same room, we have beautiful things happening with Pat Novabat and Dance Enjoy, with Eric, with everyone. So
they might be even actually like they could work together as well. There's nothing like preventing
together
from because they
not merge but connected.
Yeah.
Let's
see.
Voilà.
Yep. They are open source too, so developers who are watching can get involved with the ORDAO code base and build with OREC, and also get involved with the code base that Vlad is building with the Respect Game apps, as well as the app that Abraham and several other developers are building too. So we can mix and match and figure out the best ways. Oh, and Rosmari just left. I saw she raised her hand, and I was gonna pass on to her. But I think that I think she said in the chat a couple times that she really liked the app too. So. Okay, well, I don't know, Vlad, Tadas, is there anything else you want to add to that discussion, or Patrick, or Eric? We haven't heard much from you since the beginning and your feedback about OREC. So the floor is open again if we want to continue discussions. We could wrap it up whenever too, but happy to stick around for at least a bit longer to talk more about OREC if you'd like. Okay, well, I can bring up another subject too. So I'm wondering, Tadas, what are the next steps for OREC? So you've been working on it for the past few months now, thinking about it for a lot longer. And I know you just, I think, did the first OREC transaction on the mainnet at the most recent Optimism Fractal event, or based on the Respect game for the most Optimism Fractal event. We had also been talking about potentially doing some sort of office hour or something like that, to educate developers and educate people who are interested. And I know you're interested in doing some tests on the software, and I know you're also interested in expanding features of OREC too. So I'm wondering, do you have any things you'd like to share regarding the next steps, regarding things that we can do to help assist you in the development of OREC, or anything that developers should look at for, community members should look out for? Anything else you want to share for the next steps of OREC? And also maybe timelines on when you think that, I don't know, like if you have any timelines in mind, although it's already released. So
yeah, so a few weeks ago, I think, no, or a little more than a week ago, I shared a poll in the Optimism Fractal Discord where I presented potential next things to work on in relation to ORDAO. And so I think that's where it's at right now. Like I see multiple potential paths. Like we all converge. It's just a matter of what to work on next, what's the priority. And in that poll, the option that gained the most votes was basically more presentation of our console and more testing of our console and ORDAO in general. And this week, that's what I'm focused on, and I will most likely be focused on that next week. And yeah, that's
Makes sense.
That's my perspective right now.
I was reading this poll, ORDAO. What are the Tadas next things? And I think ORDAO is the thing to be focused. OREC is more about proposal to execute and sociocracy. For me, it's for me, OREC is the modelization of brainstorming sessions. You were even stating into OREC on a slide that we can include the people are free to organize themselves and put the things into Notepad, into whatever. So I think there is a things to not miss. To pass very good proposal, we need very good tracking. We need very good organization, data organization, and that's where the fractal data collector can be connected with your thing to leverage your thing. Because if it is just to execute things without to be organized, that will not. The tech is great. The tech is great, but that needs some organization behind. Yeah. Anyway, just want to tell. I agree. Step by step, and the next step is tomorrow. So exactly. Yeah. No, I am happy. I understand, Dan, your questioning also when that will be available and when we will be able to use that. That's also always a great question. But Tadas is, I think, in a good path, and when it will be ready, that will be ready. So to make good potatoes, you need a good kitchen. So.
That's true, and it is ready too. We already have some great potatoes.
I have
It's
chosen a bad
deployed.
example.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, just want to be clear too. I guess I was just curious about next steps and so forth in general. But we do have something that's usable right now, and it already has been used for Optimism Fractal, and we can use it. Keep on testing it at each week, as well as once, for example, Abraham or other developers build a GUI around it, then that'll also make it easier to use and easier to experiment in many ways too. So thanks, Patrick, for the thoughts, as well as Tadas. We are 15 minutes past top of the hour, and I noticed there was a bit of silence before too. So I'm not sure if anybody else has any other questions. So we could start wrapping it up. I also do have a couple things I'd like to just bring up on the screen as we wrap up, when we're ready to wrap up too, just to give people a couple of things to look at and think about going forward into the next days and weeks and so forth, to kind of recap this discussion about OREC. But before I do that, before I start wrapping it up and share this brief presentation for a couple minutes, I just want to ask if anybody else wants to ask any questions about OREC, or anybody else wants to share thoughts about OREC, or if Tadas, is there anything else you want to add?
No. Just maybe that if you want to learn more about OREC and ORDAO in general, and more specifically maybe how to use and test these ORDAO tools right now, there might be more meetings coming up where I explain and teach people, help people to use it. and basically do a little bit like learning session about it. So yeah, keep tracking the Optimism Fractal and Eden Fractal channels. If meetings like that happen, it will be announced there.
Yeah. Good points. And don't miss the Novacrit 2 YouTube video coming. Nice breakdown. Then we will, Dan, myself also, we will do a nice retweet, a nice snowball, because it's a thing to pitch your work. It's a thing to explain through workshops, but it's also a thing to be able to convey the for any viewers what it is and to have some traction. So I think tomorrow I will challenge the Tadas, and that will be great. No, but yeah, we have to work together. We have to collaborate. Like this, we will show to the people that we have great stack and that they can use this stack. We have not to convince them. They will be convinced themselves. We have not even to convince them. So that's the point, I think. If we do the things right, I think the fruits will come naturally. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your interview very much, and then also looking forward, Das, to participating in those sessions and helping out however I can if you end up doing those sessions, and helping to spread the word about OREC, because yeah, I believe not many people know about it yet, but that's one of the reasons why we're here, and I think that a lot of people are going to want to know about it soon. It'll provide a very helpful service and capabilities for people, or be a very helpful tool, I should say, and a very helpful protocol. That I think could provide a lot of infrastructure for future communities, organizations on the internet.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. I can jump into this presentation for a couple minutes, and then we can wrap it up. If anybody else has anything else in their mind, then I think Ross was a bit flexible on the 15 minutes, so we could continue it a bit, but also don't want to keep everybody too long if people don't have questions on their mind. So feel free if anyone wants to jump in with any other thoughts. Otherwise, I'll get in this presentation, and there'll be one less opportunity to share any other closing thoughts, and we'll wrap it up after that momentarily.
Let's go, Dan.
All right, let's go. So I encourage everybody to explore OREC. Thanks for Rosmari for making the wonderful art too and the promotion too. And thanks so much to Das for building OREC once again. And thank you, Patrick and Eric and Vlad, for participating in the discussion and sharing all the great thoughts. Really excited about our progress and the next things that we're doing to collaborate. I encourage people to check out the frapps repository. Frapps is, one, it sounds like a coffee drink, and then so it's nice and simple. And then two, it also is kind of short for fractal apps or fractal app software. And you can see at this repository, github.com/sim31/frapps, to learn more about the whole ORDAO application, of which the OREC is a major component and feature. So I encourage people to look into here to see more details about this. This is a candidate that Tadas is proposing for the next generation of Optimism Fractal software. And there's more details about it here too. He gave some new details about this about a week ago or so. And then you can see the actual rules and mechanisms very concisely laid out. If you go onto that page and you click on the OREC button, so you can see the definitions, the variables, the exact mechanisms that it works with, and the rationale explained in a short manner. So that's like exactly how it works, basically. Tadas also shared in the Optimism Fractal Discord, which I encourage everybody to join and share thoughts in, as well as the Eden Fractal chat, deployment of the ORDAO app and how it's currently configured, the websites that people can access and so forth. So we appreciate if people can help test this at the upcoming events. He configured it to work with the Fractogram app. So and no need to test it if you don't know it yet. You could just come and join and play and have the game and have fun, and that'd be helpful to test it if you join Optimism Fractal events on Thursdays at 17 UTC. But then, yeah, we'll also be testing out all this really cool stuff that Tadas has been sharing. He shared some instructions for people who can run respect games. And also he shared an announcement post here sharing how it looks better in Block Explorer with ORDAO and it worked quite well. And another neat thing is that about the ORDAO application, as well as what Vlad is building in his EVM version of the respect game app, is that all the metadata now shows in OpenSea, and it shows like these beautiful images too, which is really nice. That's another great feature that's related to OREC and ORDAO. I encourage you once again to check out both Patrick's interview that's upcoming, and we had a discussion about ORDAO for about an hour with more details about OREC and the whole app that works around it, the whole ORDAO app too. So encourage people to check that out for more details, and check out optimismfractal.com/40 for show notes and links. And then you can find the snapshot poll. This is currently closed, but you can still see it for an idea of some things that Tadas is working on. I'm sure you'd appreciate your feedback if you reach out to him in Telegram or Discord. Things he's working to build, including the full GUI, the presentation, which he already gave, more testing on public test nets for Orc console deployment. We've been thinking about deploying it for Eden Fractal on base as well, and considering respect oracles and stuff like that. So those are some ideas we've been thinking about, Tadas has been thinking about, and then some improvements he's thinking about adding, like ability to specify proposal order and proposals, ability to specify time windows for execution, automatic expiration proposals which are not passed but executed, and support for delegate call proposals. I know Vlad was also happy about the custom call version too. So people can check out this for more details. He shared that in the Optimism Fractal Discord and the Eden Fractal Telegram. This has been a great event for Eden Fractal. So thank you so much, everybody, for the amazing conversations and all the great work. One thing I want to mention too is that Tadas wrote this really interesting article at University of Tripartite Governance, how there can be different like judges, legislative and executive, and that's all in the discussion. But I've been thinking about that too, how this can work with the Optimism Fractal Council and other systems too. So maybe that's a discussion for another time that I pulled up. And yeah, just want to invite everybody to join Eden Fractal, which I believe we're doing still bi-weekly. Stay tuned, but yeah, it's scheduled for bi-weekly. And if anybody has any other updates you want to share, like for example, Vlad, I know that the app you're building soon, would love to present and show and walk through your app, or if other developers out there watching or other people building cool things related to fractal decision-making process would like, then we currently don't have like agendas on consortium like we do, but just feel free to reach out and just let me know, and we can schedule discussion, as well as at the Optimism Town Hall, where we do have a agenda system where people can make proposals by voting with respect in the snapshot space. Encourage everybody to join the Optimism Fractal event at 17 UTC tomorrow on Thursday, every Thursday, in the Optimism Town Hall following, where we'll be discussing the recent integrations with the HATS protocol. That's it for me. Thanks everybody so much for joining and being here. Fractal Pat Novabad is enjoying it, I think. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up? And should we wrap it up with, when we wrap it up, maybe like a 3, 2, 1, go OREC, perhaps?
Yeah, just want to tell one more thing. Upscale Fractal DAO, we have a Council update release on the 20th of September. So that will be another video, because we see some connection between the Upscale DAO Fractal and the Optimism Fractal. We are a fractal, so we can connect with other fractals. And to the ATS3 protocol, there is a beautiful feature that's named Links3. Link3. We can link 3. So I enjoy for that. So stay tuned.
Sounds great. Well, yeah, thank you, Patrick. Looking forward to the interview coming up with the Upscale Council, as well as the other ones you're doing with Tadas and Jacob and everything else that's coming up. Yep, very much going to learn more about OREC there. Sounds great. I saw Vlad was unmuted. Was there anything else you wanted to share, or Tadas or Eric, any last thoughts, or let me know if we're ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think sometime in September, I would be happy to present the application as well. So let's speak.
Okay, sounds good.
And you know, are we wrapping up this episode?
I think so. We'll just give us a couple seconds more if maybe Tadas or Eric want to share any last thoughts, but I'm ready to wrap it up whenever. And I think they might be too. Going once, going twice.
Okay.
3 times. So
what about 3, 2, 1, 0, go Eden Fractal?
We could do go Eden Fractal. I like that. Maybe we'll do go Eden Fractal and then we'll say go OREC after that. How's that?
Voila.
Okay.
Go Eden Fractal and then go OREC, okay? I do the countdown.
Okay, sounds good.
3, 2, 1, and 0.
Go Eden Fractal. And go OREC.
Yeah,
right.
baby. Okay.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much to Das for OREC. Thanks so much to everybody for watching and the great discussion. Look forward to seeing you at the next Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal and all the great things coming up with fractal communities. And see ya.
See you.
Bye bye.